Now, a shock rise in inflation figures this week has prompted speculation that another interest rate rise is on the way. Well, it's good news for savers, of course, but not for homeowners who will see their mortgage payments go up once again. So does this mean that the UK's booming housing market is heading for a crash? One man who thinks it is Jonathan Davis, spokesman for housepricecrash.co.uk, but not everyone agrees. Also with us is the mortgage expert, Ray Bulger, who's a senior technical manager at John Charcoal. Gentlemen, thank you. Why do you believe the end is nigh?
Lots of reasons. The bubble was created by one, enormous liquidity. If you could fog a mirror, you got a loan as much as you wanted. Investors, a brand new phenomenon, the buy-to-let, the speculator. Interest rates and inflation have been low for a long time, but all these are now reversing. Interest rates have been rising these past few years. I think the buy-to-let is about to slow down if it hasn't already. And once these guys actually put their properties on the market, well, the supply of property is going to go through the roof, pardon the pun, and demand is going to fall. And also there'll be a credit crunch as well. Ray,
lots of omens there, but there's a fundamental question here. Is property in Britain worth the kind of money it's going for?
Well, a property is worth what a willing buyer and a willing seller agree to do business at. And Jonathan made lots of suggestions there in terms of what's happening. I don't think all of those are true by any means. The bears of the property market have been talking about a bubble for years, and yet prices keep going up. Now, we'll only know whether it's a bubble if prices do drop sharply. But historically, we've always needed a trigger for that to happen. And I think the only realistic trigger that's going to cause that is for interest rates to go up sharply and quickly. And I don't personally believe the Bank of England will push them up far enough to cause prices to crash. But I do think that with the bank rate rise we're likely to get next month, we will see a further slowdown in the market. And by the second half of this year, I see prices doing very little, i.e. the market being pretty flat.
Jonathan, you were shaking your head then. I remember my first mortgage, it was 14%. We're a long way from that.
We are indeed. But of course, the mortgages are 3 times the size of where they were 15 years ago. It's interesting as well, you're talking about the early 1990s. Once the crash started in the early 90s, the UK base rate fell in half. It didn't stop the crash. You look at the United States, which is going through the biggest crash since the Great Depression in the 1930s right now, although their short-term interest rate has risen substantially, their mortgage rates have hardly moved in the last few years.
Yeah, but the key reason for the problem in the States is that subprime borrowers were mainly taking short-term interest rates.
What does that mean in English?
Basically, it means people with less than perfect credit ratings.
Right.
And those sorts of borrowers were taking short-term rates and often teaser rates where the mortgage moved up strongly after a year. And actually, that's where the main part of the problem's been, not with the main customer.
Let me simplify this to weekend terms. If a mortgage is so expensive that you virtually can't even afford to go out and have a pint, people are going to stop getting enormous mortgages.
Exactly. That's absolutely right. And that's why there will come a time when, if interest rates go up too far, house prices will stop going up. And I think we're probably only 3/4 of a point away from that happening. I think if bank rate went to 6%, you would see some small falls, not a crash, but some small falls. But I think the Bank of England is very conscious that because the housing market is such a big factor in the UK economy, they do not want to see house prices going up at 10% a year, but they don't want to see them falling too far either. And I think that they will not put interest rates up so far and so fast to cause that to happen.
The Bank of England takes note of what's happening in the housing market, but the Bank of England's raison d'etre is to keep inflation low. That's all it's there to do. The interest rate is a spurious issue. There are so many reasons why there's been this bubble. One of them is the amount of liquidity in the system. The other one is, I mean, you wouldn't believe it, but the buy-to-let market has grown 30-fold in 8 years.
It's because everybody thinks property equals pension.
A secure and comfortable retirement, in other words. Absolutely, and it's worked for them up to now. But, you know, a very wise person once said, if something isn't expected to last forever, it probably won't.
Ray, do you think lenders are being irresponsible when they offer people like my brother, to use a personal example, 6 times his salary for a mortgage?
Well, I don't know your brother's personal circumstances, but 6 times
well, whoever it is, 6 times your salary.
The key is what your income is. 6 times salary for somebody earning 25,000 is irresponsible, and indeed lenders would not offer 6 times income in that situation. The higher your salary, the higher your income, the more you can afford in income multiple terms to spend on your mortgage, because you don't need to spend so much on the basics. So for people who are earning at least, say, £60,000 a year, £75,000 a year, 6 times income is affordable if they choose to allocate a significant part of their income to their property. Now, that's a lifestyle choice. Some people would rather spend less and have more to spend on other things, but for those people who want to commit it to their property, then yes, it's affordable.
Ray Bulger and Jonathan Davis, thank you both for your time. I'm sure most viewers are hoping there won't be a crash, unless, of course, it's first-time buyers, when that's a beneficial thing for them. But anyway, thank you both for your time as well.
Thank you.